Hello, my name's William Young.
My name is Christopher Sweeney.
And we are best friends.
We are. And not long ago, these two best friends had to have a very difficult conversation. Will told me that he'd been having suicidal thoughts that had been getting out of control.
That got your attention.
It did, because I think I'd only popped round to borrow some sugar.
Actually, Chris and I were recording our podcast together, and I shared with Chris that I'd been, a few days earlier, been feeling severely suicidal. And so I'm going to talk from the point of view of someone who shares that information and what that feels like.
And I'm going to talk from the point of view of someone whose best friend has just told them they feel suicidal. Hot potato springs to mind. I did what a lot of people do, which is I kind of panicked and thought I really have to stop this. But I felt quite powerless because there's no handbook for this sort of thing.
I explained to Chris that I didn't need him to have all the answers. I just wanted what so many people with suicidal thoughts find so hard. I wanted a friend to listen to me.
And I basically learned to listen and, if necessary, help Will get the help that he needed.
I had actually already spoken to the Samaritans, who were fantastic, and they're trained in a way that no friend can be. The Samaritans offer advice to people with suicidal thoughts and ideations.
But why do so many friendships struggle with talking about not just the extremes of suicide, but about feelings in general? Let's go back to the beginning, because funnily enough, these friends haven't always been talking about suicide.
No, we met at a party.
There we are. I went up to Will because I knew who he was, and I said I liked his music.
I knew who Chris was because I'd stolen an idea of his from a short film that he'd directed, and I'd used it for my website, www.willyoung.co.uk.
Will's honesty in that moment made me laugh, and it was refreshing that someone could be that honest.
This was, in fact, the same party that I thought someone was checking me out across the dance floor until I realized that it was my reflection in a mirror.
However, a friendship founded on honesty had begun.
Yes, very quickly, what looked like a very close friendship began.
We could be honest with each other, but mainly about superficial stuff. So I knew I'd get an honest answer from Will if, for example, I wanted feedback on an outfit. So I could send him a photo, for example, this suit I was thinking about buying. I sent Will a text message saying, "Does this suit look good on me? Good on me?" And William's response came quite quickly back,
"No." And vice versa, like the time when I asked Chris if my new haircut aged me.
To be fair, you did ask.
I did. We spent a lot of time together, having a lot of fun.
We did, and there's some pictures of us having a lot of fun, sending each other stupid pictures.
That's a particularly good one on me.
Yeah.
We shared pictures of what we were having for lunch, the latest bric-a-brac we were purchasing.
Or the puppies we wished we owned.
So after the friendship was going so well that I actually moved 2 doors up from Chris, so we became neighbours.
We did. We were neighbours, but we never really asked each other how we were doing properly.
No, and that's when the friendship hit the rocks.
It did. One day, suddenly Will just totally cut himself off from me.
What was going on behind closed doors was I was in the middle of a full-on breakdown, which I would highly recommend. I was barely functioning on a day-to-day level. And why did I not say this to Chris? Why did I not open up to him? Well, I guess I thought that he wouldn't like me and that he would reject me. So whenever we met up, I would just pretend that everything was fine.
And what was I thinking? Well, whenever we met up, I just pretend to Will that everything was okay, and I wouldn't really ask him what was going on because I just thought friends should meet up and have a laugh.
Well, the truth was that I only ever met up with Chris when I felt strong enough to lie. And then it got to a day when things really got bad. I was already having my breakdown, and then I got sacked from a job before it began. And I was, desperately sad and depressed, and Chris's name flashed up on my phone, and I thought, well, I've hit rock bottom. What else have I got to lose? So I answered the phone call.
Instead of the normal chirpy Will on the other end of the line, he was crying, and he told me what was really going on for him.
Chris didn't reject me, he didn't judge me, and the feeling of relief from opening up was absolutely wonderful.
I seem to recall I just came around to your house, and we talked for hours, and Will shared, everything that was going on with him. Because of that, I was able to share what was going on with me, and I was just about to get married, and I was really scared of what felt like quite a small thing, which was having to kiss my husband in front of all my friends and family for the first time, and Will encouraged me to be brave about that.
Yes, so with our friendship back on track, and after a night of ordaining ourselves as priests on the internet...
Will actually acted as the priest at our wedding. That's Will marrying me and my husband.
And I'm still available for weddings. www.willyoung.co.uk/priest.
And here is that kiss that Will encouraged me to be so brave about.
So, Chris, I presume that was for the priest. So, Chris and I carried on having open, honest discussions, and what we realized was a lot of the things that we were talking about were things that lots of LGBTQ+ people talk about: anxiety, shame, relationships, gender norms, etc.
So we thought, why don't we set up a podcast where we can be as honest with our listeners as we have been with each other, in the hope that it would help them as much as it's helped us.
And so when that day came, when I opened up to Chris about feeling suicidal, I knew that it would be okay. I knew he'd hear me, and I knew he wouldn't judge me.
And I knew, after my initial panic, just to listen.
So we know the magnitude of suicide in the UK. However, the statistics are truly shocking. Every week, 84 men will kill themselves. In 2015, 75% of people who killed themselves over a year period were men. 44% of LGBT people consider suicide, and just under 50% of transgender people will try and kill themselves.
The one thing you hear over and over again from the family and friends of those who've taken their own life is that they never knew that that person was feeling suicidal.
No, and for people like me who think about killing themselves, to open up to a friend and get that support is a lifeline.
So what's getting in the way? Well, CALM, the Campaign Against Living Miserably, a charity set up to try and eradicate male suicide, have said that men in particular are very ashamed of showing their vulnerability in front of their peers.
In 2017, the Royal Society for Public Health published a paper, and within that, the notion of compare and despair, where they looked at social media, and they found that it has created a context where we compare ourselves to unrealistic versions of our peers. The consequences being that we feel we have to conceal what we see as our flaws. By trying to impress the people who we look at as our friends, we don't open up in times of need.
And it's not just in times of need. Flinders University Centre for Ageing found that people over 70 with an extensive network of friends live for 22% longer. Friendships actually help us live longer.
So, and puppies. So,
crucially, puppies.
So what can be done about this? Well, crucially, we believe you have to learn to open up. See your friendships as places where you can open up and be vulnerable and embrace and be honest about your true, authentic, emotional self.
And next time you're with your friend, it's your job to ask them how they're really doing.
And when they ask you how you're doing, tell them how you're really doing, and then ask them how they're really doing.
It's a two-way street, and that's the only way to have truly rewarding friendships.
And it might not be about suicide.
It might just mean that you don't need to buy that suit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.